At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.
It's the second year for Iowa's education savings plans that help parents pay for private school education. How is that impacting a private school with a storied history in the cities? This year marks the 140th year for Rivermont Collegiate in Bettendorf. What started as a strict girls' school on the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River, Rivermont is now a private school that is attracting students from around the world. And Rivermont is benefiting from two big changes. Iowa's new education savings plan, it's expanding this year to offer $7,500 per child to even more families to send their kids to non-public schools. And Rivermont has signed agreements with both private colleges in the cities to guarantee acceptance for their students. We sat down with Rivermont Collegiate Headmaster C. Max Roach and its admissions director, Kristen Skaggs. So welcome to the 2024-2025 school year. Tell me what makes this year perhaps a little different than past at Rivermont.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. A lot of wonderful things happening at Rivermont this year. Each year brings its own set of circumstances. And so we're seeing changes in local demographics, local legislation, that's changing financial arrangements and helping families locally to offset some expenses. It's also making us more affordable. We can talk about ESA legislation later if you like. The other thing we're seeing is changing global markets, right? So we're seeing a diversification of our boarding population. We're seeing more students coming from different countries. And of course, our students benefit from those very scholarly international students coming in. It turns it into like a little global village. And increasingly unique is that these are middle and upper, well, we start boarding in 8th grade, kids coming from all over the world, but they get to interact with our early school students who are 3, 4 years old. They get to interact with our 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders. We have our 4th graders who are learning about, whether it's Nepal or Afghanistan or whatever. And they say, oh yeah, we had a couple students from Afghanistan a couple of years ago, wonderful kids, So ambassador to the UN sent his children to Rivermont Collegiate in Iowa, right? So the diversity that these international kids bring is fantastic. What makes this year unique, I would say, is a changing international market, changing economies, changing market structures, and then also some changing market structures and economies here locally, both for positive and challenges as well with local layoffs and so on. So,
very good point. And I do want to start actually, and Kristen, let me start with you in regards to the changes in Iowa state legislation,
Sure.
The educational savings accounts, the ESAs,
Right.
as you had mentioned. How has that helped Rivermont, or has it had that big of an impact?
It is continuing to have an impact. Last year, we saw a slight increase in enrollment. The first year of rolling out, people maybe weren't as aware of how the school choice works.
Right.
And
so this is the second year, of course, of ESA, and it's also allowing more families to have their child attend.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
So that we have the window to apply was longer. We had more talking points and we could really help the people. And yes, more families were eligible and looking forward to next year when it will be all families, K through 12, who are interested in pursuing a private or different sort of educational experience.
Every family will be eligible under the state
Yes.
legislation because it was kind of a 3-year phasing in.
Correct.
How
Iowa families.
Yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. Yes, it was the Iowa State Legislature,
Right,
yes.
right.
So what did you see as far as population is concerned? I mean, do you have hard numbers?
We have 58 of our Iowa students this year who are benefiting from that, and that is double.
more than
a little
double.
more than that. Yeah.
And
So
what
it's
kind of an
double-
impact does that have? Because, I mean, and I want to talk about the
Yeah, I
international
wanna
students
talk about the
because
impact of
because
ESA.
of the boarding and all that. And,
Sure.
But starting with the ESA accounts, what kind of an impact does that have?
So, first of all, I'd say initially it was confusing, right? Anytime you're rolling out a new program, it's confusing. And so we are seeing more people taking advantage of it, which is good. Here's the impact it really has. We are not in a very wealthy area, right? And so a lot of the families look at a school like Rivermont and they're put off by the fact that we have a mansion and we're called Rivermont Collegiate and people kind of see us as the fancy pants school on the hill. ESA money is making us more approachable for families who might have thought they couldn't approach us before. And so the other thing is, so in addition to having families who will benefit and might consider us because of that support, we actually award about $1 million a year in financial aid to local students, right? That's basically scholarships for local kids. And so what we're seeing is some of those families that we were giving heavy financial aid to, they're able to take some of that money and it actually alleviates some of their burden already. And so that it's kind of impacting the local community in two ways. Again, making us more approachable and available to people who hadn't had a reason to consider, would Rivermont be a good fit for my kid? Now they have a reason. They have about 8,000 reasons, 7,800 reasons
Yes, yeah.
why Rivermont might be a good fit for their kid. And then in addition to that ESA support, we're able to offer additional financial aid, bringing for a kid who's a good fit for Rivermont, bringing their actual out-of-pocket expense very low, quite minimal in some cases when families demonstrate need.
Well, and you pointed out 7,800 reasons, and we should point out that that is the amount of money that the Iowa legislature is allowing families per student
That's right.
to spend towards a private education.
Exactly.
Now, critics say, why is the taxpayer propping up a private school such as Rivermont?
Well, it's a good question, and I hear critics when they say that. There are a lot of reasons to be concerned about what's happening in public education and with legislators legislating education. I'm a firm believer that teachers should be running education, and that's actually the whole concept of the independent school model. We're not a private school. We have no governing body telling us what we do and how we do it. We make our own rules, and we make them excellent, and we deliver on them. So there's a lot of reason for concern with this. What I would say is many people are paying taxes who don't have school-age children. Many people are paying taxes like myself who don't put kids into public schools until actually recently I've got two of my own students who wanted to finish in a public school because they want the big school experience.
Sure, and you hear that a lot, actually.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely,
exactly. And understandable.
absolutely, yeah.
So it's nice to hear that it's in your family as well.
Absolutely. This is near and dear to my heart, right? And so at the core of it is this idea of school choice. Just as students are individuals and their needs are very individual, whether or not a school is a good fit is also individual, right? So I'm all about helping families find the right fit for their child. Sometimes it's Rivermont, sometimes it's not Rivermont. And even in my own family, that's the case. So to critics, I'm not here to defend. I don't want to get in a tit for tat argument about this or that. What I would say is the ESA legislation, as I see it, is actually quite a natural extension of legislation that already existed called open enrollment. So open enrollment allows students to leave schools that their parents are unhappy with.
Public school.
Public schools say, and again, this is within Iowa, right? So if you're in Davenport or North Scott or Bettendorf or PV and you don't think that's a good fit for your child, you are able to move your child to another public school for years now. Right?
Right.
And those dollars, some of those dollars would follow, and some of those dollars, even though you moved your student and all the expenses related to your student, some of those dollars actually stayed behind. So that was the case with open enrollment, and ESA takes that open enrollment precedent and says, okay, well, and also, if a student leaves the public school system and now the public school system has less expenses related to that student, then those tax dollars should be fairly distributed to wherever that student goes, whether it's a Catholic school or an independent college prep school, or wherever, or another public school for that matter. So to me, that makes sense. A lot of people who are paying taxes that maybe their children are grown, they're still paying taxes into those public school systems, which, they're navigating highly complicated legislative, social landscapes, right? And curricular landscapes, financial landscapes, legislative landscapes. That the mechanism of public education is a very big system. It's a lot of structure. So I recognize we all need to pay money into public education, and I do so gladly. But if my kid wants to go to a different school and they're going to pay for my kid to transfer from one public school to another public school, it makes sense to me that if they want to go to a private school, some, not all of the state and federal dollars should follow them.
Well, Christian, you're in charge of admissions. I mean, tell me a little bit about the interest that has occurred since this legislation. Once again, we do have to underline it's Iowa only, of course. I'm just so used to it. But it's very much Iowa. What type of interest have you seen since this went into effect? And did you see it grow this year?
It definitely grew this year. Last year, we had a number of families who were thinking about it for the first time. But I think because it had a year to take hold, people had more information and really saw the need for more choice available. Some of the parents who came in and toured this summer, for example, said, I'm a strong supporter of the public schools. I never thought about this for my child, but now I know my child isn't thriving. And we want to see if there's something else that would work. And so we're very happy to give those tours and to answer questions before we even talk about the next steps for application for enrollment and applying for ESA funds.
And what did you see as far as retention from one year to the next? Because as you know, school districts and private schools, retention is so incredibly important.
So important,
Right.
Well, I would say that we've seen a significant increase in retention of students. I would say more importantly, we've seen a significant increase in retention of our faculty. Every single faculty who was eligible to return this year, all of our teachers came back. I've never seen that. I've never even heard of a school. My friends run private schools from here to Timbuktu, literally. And in public schools and private schools, it's a very rare thing when every single eligible faculty member chooses to return. And we've got an amazing faculty. So I feel very lucky and honored. I could brag about them all day, but I know that's not why you asked me to come.
We're also, I mean, the makeup of Rivermont is so incredibly important. And I'll go back to you again, Christian, because you were telling the story even very recently that you have a number of Turkish students that are interested. I mean, just the fact that you have this world that comes to Little Bettendorf.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. And I have the privilege of interviewing the students before they come to the U.S. for the first time. Many of them are coming to the U.S. for the first time. And to have those important conversations, what I usually say is, I just want to get to know you better, because ultimately I want to make sure that they will get out of the experience what they're hoping for. So to answer their questions, to reassure them, having been a teacher at Rivermont for so many years and working with the international students in my classroom, and how much they brought to my experience and to other students' experience. I want it to work for everyone. I know it sometimes it's just not a possibility, but to help them on their journey because they have these goals and aspirations is just wonderful for me.
And I'm curious. Can I piggyback on that just for 1 second too? So you asked about why international kids come to Little Bettendorf, right? Let me start by saying Thailand, Vietnam, France, Spain, let's see, Montenegro, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Morocco, China, Vietnam, Japan, Thailand. I could go on and on. They're all coming to Little Bettendorf. And the reason they're coming to Little Bettendorf is their parents understand completely that the Western education system, and in particular the US education system, is among the finest in the world, right? So they're seeking opportunities for their kid. They also know that as their child grows up, they will be doing business with Americans. Our kids will continue to collaborate. Our economies will be even more interdependent in the future than they are now, which is really saying something, right? As we saw with local layoffs, our economies are globally connected. And one of the things that Rivermont does is we're bringing the world to Quad Cities, and we're training them to be high functioning adults. In the meantime, we're bringing our local Quad citizens at Little Bettendorf, as you say, and they are preparing themselves to collaborate and coordinate and partner with and function in an increasingly interdependent, globalized society, right? So it's like a little global village. It's really, really important.
But as you know, I mean, the global village is wonderful in some people's eyes and not necessarily as wonderful. So has there been much of a blowback over the last few years in regards to the population of international students being at Rivermont?
Certainly when we launched the boarding program, there were some people who were really concerned. And some of it is xenophobia, I'll be honest, just fear of people who are not from here, that don't look like me or sound like me. And that's everywhere. And by the way, xenophobia exists in Japan, and xenophobia exists in Europe. And this is a human condition, right? This is a human experience. Certainly we have seen that. I've maybe lost 3 families who said, I don't want my kid to be going to school with foreigners. And what I said to them was, I agree, it sounds like we're not a good fit for you. Right? Because part of being an independent school and running a good independent school is saying who you are and what you do, which implicitly states who you aren't and what you don't do. Right? So we are a global community. We are proud of what we do. And if for people who are, feeling like they don't want their kid to go to school with foreigners, well, first of all, show me a school on earth where kids don't go to school with foreigners. That school doesn't really exist. Local kids are going to school with foreigners no matter what school you go to. Why not have them go to school with foreigners who have been hand-selected with scrutiny to be high-functioning academic go-getters who elevate our school's culture by their very joining our community.
And isn't that the point? I mean, is it true? Because we were talking earlier about making sure that you have international students, but not, how do I say this properly? Not too many. You want to have a wonderful mix.
Yeah.
And is that what you're still able to do at Rivermont? And does the ESA actually provide that? Is that it helps get more of the American students or even the local students to be here?
Well, okay, so ESA, I would say, does help us provide more diversity in that it makes us more appealing to demographics who might not have otherwise considered us. Okay, so
you're talking about economic demographics.
I'm talking about economic diversity, which of course, unfortunately, is tied to racial diversity in America, right? So yes, in that way it does. But back to the core of your question, I'm always concerned about having too many of one type of culture, right? Too many kids from Morocco, then you've got a gaggle of Moroccans who go around like a little tornado. Jamaicans, I love the Jamaicans. If you get a whole bunch of Jamaicans in your school, it's going to turn into a reggae dance hall party at lunch every day. What we want to do is get a handful of kids from all around the world so that they integrate, right? And we do try to balance the numbers of students from any one country because what we're going for is that melting pot of high-level go-getters who want something more. They want something special in their education.
Well, and Chris, I mean, you put it really well, is that you have been there I mean, since before Rivermont was Rivermont, so to speak, you know. So, I mean, what have you noticed as a change as far as the culture and the fact that it has been a sustainable educational facility for so long?
Sure. I was always drawn to the fact where teachers have autonomy in the classroom, you know your subject matter, you know the students, and you can really make those connections with the students and by extension, their families. So that part hasn't changed, but what has changed is that we now, as Max was talking about, have that global village. We also have more support internally so that we can continue to grow. I think at first, when I was teaching there, it's, well, we'll get by for another year. We'll get by for another year until the magic year hits. I don't know that we're quite at the magic year. We are very proud that we're celebrating our 140th birthday this year. So we have the history, we have traditions, but we are also looking ahead. And so we are able to provide that strong academic foundation, and the way that we can do it varies, determining the grade level that we're working with or what that particular teacher brings to the table and what our ultimate goals are. And so to have those open and honest conversations and to grow as a community is something that is a change.
Well, and Max, let's talk about that real quickly, because 140 years is not something to ignore.
Right.
So tell me about the pride of that.
Yeah. Well, and Kristen alluded to the fact that, you know, for a lot of years, Rivermont was kind of hand to mouth. And before that, it was St. Catherine, St. Mark's.
Right.
And at that time, it enjoyed some additional funding through church, right? Then the church dropped funding. And the amicably with mutual love and support, but not financial support anymore. And lo and behold, the school was struggling financially, and it had a kind of an identity crisis of, you know, we sound like we're a church school, but we're not a church school anymore, and we're certainly not getting any financial subsidy from the church. So there was a disconnect between kind of who they were and how they were presenting themselves to the community. So long before I got there, the Board of Trustees and alumni and current students and families went through this process of rebranding and renaming. The essence of the school didn't change, kind of the name of it. And the whole reason they did that was to make themselves more appealing to the audience that is actually a good fit for the school.
But at this point, 140 years, Rivermont, there's got to be a lot of pride.
Absolutely, and we still maintain those traditions, right? So as part of our 140th celebration, we're renaming our what is the Joseph Bettendorf Mansion. We just colloquially refer to it as the Mansion, and we're renaming that St. Catherine's Hall in honor of our origin story, in honor of the alumni who've come before us, to help bridge. You know, some people felt disenfranchised when the school changed its name to Rivermont Collegiate. And you know, we approached them and asked them for donations, right? And they say, oh, that's not my school. And yet, we still have two houses, the Imps and Tigers, just like in Harry Potter, they have Hufflepuff and Gryffindor. We've had Imps and Tigers since at least 1900, okay? We still carry on that. Every year at graduation, I give away the Bishop's Prize. We're not associated with a bishop. I still give away the Bishop's Prize.
So the key is to keep the tradition, but to move forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've always been honoring our past while forging forward. But this 140th birthday party is a time to really celebrate both of those things. What we've done and where we've come from, as well as who we are now and where we're headed.
Our thanks to Rivermont Collegiate Headmaster C. Max Roach and its admissions director, Kristen Skaggs. We like to take time to showcase musical talent in the cities, and that brings us to Daniel Stratman. He has Southern California roots, but he considers himself a troubadour with an average Joe persona. Here's Daniel Stratman with Satisfied.
The melody always comes first, and if I'm lucky, I come up with a couple of scratch lyrics, and if it's worth writing down, I always have paper and tablets around, and I start writing down the melody line and maybe a few lyrics.
We had a night that I will never forget. You stole my heart and swept me away. Tomorrow hasn't even happened yet. There's nothing more that I want to say. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. Well, I've been out walking on these city streets, following the neon lights. If there's somewhere you'd like to go where we could meet, anywhere, wherever you like, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. Now I can't seem to get you out of my head, watching your every move, and I'm hanging on to every word you said. You inspire me, oh yes you do.
The first song is called Satisfied, and it just means those moments in life where you're actually happy. You know, you're kind of satiated. It could be a dinner out with a friend. It could be a moment that you have with the one that you love. It could just be a quiet Sunday morning where the sun's coming through the window, and you just have those little quick moments where just like everything's okay. Right now, everything's good.
Yes, I will. Mother Nature's humming along. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied.
I had a friend of mine that told me years and years ago, he said, Daniel, you're driven. And there's just something, you know, I think we all have a passion. We all have a reason for living. And, you know, what gets us out of bed in the morning that makes us jump. And, you know, I get the biggest bang out of just getting out and not just writing songs, because that's a very difficult process, even though it's a gift. But getting out and playing in front of public is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And there's nothing like it.
Daniel Stratman with Satisfied. He has a new CD called Painters and Poets available, and it's streaming at danielstratman.com. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.